welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Avasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor, if you didn't know. And today is day 25 for our plank challenge. Those of you who may have joined us recently, we do a listener challenge every month, and this month is the plank challenge. So if your goal is to reach a 3-minute plank by the end of the month, you will be doing 160 seconds today. And if your goal is a 5-minute plank by the end of the month, you are at 210 seconds today. In today's episode, I'll talk about my process of introspection before bed. And the way I do this is exploring what is called on this little prayer card that I have, an AA nightly prayer. And I'm going to talk about how I use it as a tool to do my daily inventory. And I'm going to do this by looking at each line of the nightly prayer. Don't worry, it's not terribly long. But I want to share my personal insights into how I look at it. And the process that I take to do this each night is about 60 seconds. It's not a big deal, but it is worth a whole episode to explain how I do it. And this has really been, using the nightly prayer has been a guide for me to finding peace of mind before I lay my head down on my pillow at night. So a gentleman in recovery handed me this little itty-bitty prayer book. It's really like the size of like a business card folded in half. Like it's super tiny. And I don't know where he got it from, but on the front of it, it says it's from Honolulu. So I have no idea how I know where it came from, but how he has it or had it and passed it to me. But I'm sure it's not a rare find. Like I'm betting there's a bunch and they were just printed and they were handing them out. But I was lucky enough to receive one. And this was like my first year of sobriety. So it has on it what is titled a morning prayer, nightly prayer, step 3 prayer, step 5 prayer, and step 7 prayer. And I was immediately drawn to reading the nightly prayer before bed. So before I go any further with my own narrative around what this prayer means to me and how I use it in my recovery, let me read it to you. So here's how it goes. God, forgive me where I have been resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid today. Help me to not keep anything to myself, but to discuss it all openly with another person. Show me where I owe an apology and help me make it. Help me to be kind and loving to all people. Use me in the mainstream of life, God. Remove worry, remorse, or morbid reflections that I may be of usefulness to you and my fellows. Amen. So before I went to bed every night, I would read this prayer. And that was up until 8 months ago. And the reason why I stopped is because it's difficult for me to focus on those words. And it's just not easy now. So instead now it's more of a mental process. Like when I lay down, I think about it. And you would think after all of these years that it's memorized, but I was literally reading it from the paper, so I never actually tried to memorize it. I suppose I could, but, well, that would take work, wouldn't it? So anyway, what I want to do, there's a lot in this little tiny prayer to unpack in each word. But it's really just practicing a step 10 before bed for me. So let me give you an example. We'll start with the first line. God, forgive me where I have been resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid today. So this is like a huge, powerful opening for me. And it's really a call for self-compassion. And then later in the prayer, we extend that to others as well. So each night, I would look at these 4 words and acknowledge where I've possibly stumbled, not with self-judgment, but with self-forgiveness. These 4 words meaning, where have I been resentful, selfish, dishonest, or afraid today? And it's not easy, of course, to confront this like, okay, where did I fail today? That's not what it's for. It's important to look at these 4 concepts on a daily basis and clean house before any grime builds up. It's like cleaning your shower once a week. It's easy. If you wait a month and try to clean it after a month, you have to scrub harder, and it takes more work to clean it. Any longer than that, and you have a sore arm, scrubbing the heck out of the shower. So I try to do this every day so that no resentments, no dishonesty or fears or anything will pile up, just like the grime in your shower. So I will ask myself, where was I resentful today? And I pause and I think, did I interact with anybody today and I was resentful towards them? And then I go through each one, selfish, dishonest, or afraid. And I think through each of them, who I spoke with that day and what my actions were over the course of the day. Did I do the best that I could? Was I a bit self-serving and, somewhere in there? Did my character defects rear their ugly heads? Where did I not put others first? Where did I not, where did I act or not act out of fear? Did I do anything today that was based on fear that maybe I could have done differently? And in answering these, just based on these 4 words, I find humility. And I also find areas that I can work on. So again, like this is an example of what I do. That's just the first line. And I'm talking through it. And me talking through it it takes a couple minutes to explain. But in my head, the process is pretty quick. I don't do a lot. Even when I was working, I interacted with a lot of people, but there are some major engagements that I have and then little minor ones where I'm just saying hi to somebody. But I'm also thinking back, did I have a minor engagement with somebody where maybe I wasn't paying attention as much as I should have? That kind of thing. I just think through it real quick. I kind of roll through the recorded video of my day, in my head. So all of this, I look at it kind of like when you take a test in grade school. So stay with me here. When I would take a test in school, no matter what grade I got, let's say I got a C. And then the teacher hands the test back out, hands them to. I look at it, I'm like, oh, I got a C. And then he goes, okay, turn to page 200. We're going to start chapter 8. And doesn't even look at the test, doesn't review. This is why you got it wrong. Let's go back and look at it and figure out how, where you made that mistake. If we don't look at it after the test, then I don't have the opportunity to improve. I'm not building a foundation that can be built upon. I was always really aggravated when when my kids' teachers didn't do that, didn't go back and review out loud the tests. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I'm reviewing my day in the same way. If I just act out all day long and I react to people, places, and things, and I don't go back and look at it at the end of the day, then I'm not learning anything. I can't get better. So that's what I'm trying to do. This is the concept that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, you know, take a look at it and figure out, how could I do it better? How could I have lived a better day today? Be a better version of myself tomorrow. So, okay, the next line of the nightly prayer is, help me to not keep anything to myself, but to discuss it all openly with another person. So this is the relief that comes with sharing our stories with other people. And this line reminds me to reach out and be vulnerable. It's a reminder that sobriety and stroke recovery were never meant to isolate me. And I need to do the work to make sure that I'm not isolating myself, because it's so easy. So each night I reflect on what I've kept locked away, mentally, and acknowledge that I need to share it. Sometimes it's going to be with my husband. Other times it's with a friend, a family member, my sponsor, my psychiatrist, or in my confessional podcast. So if there's something I'm hiding or that I'm keeping to myself, it will turn dark. It will. I know this about myself, guaranteed. So I sift through and see if there's anything that I'm thinking that I haven't shared with anyone. And this took a lot of practice. I think I really didn't start getting good at this until the past year. And I'm still not great, but I'm trying. I'm trying really hard. Okay, the next line is, show me where I owe an apology and help me make it. So humility isn't just like bowing my head and acknowledging where I lack control and accepting it and just being like, I'm not worthy. It's mending the little cracks that we've caused in our relationships. And sometimes I'm not even certain that I damaged any relationships, but I may notice something like, maybe what I said to her didn't come across exactly the way that I intended. I do that, not a lot, but it happens. And I think I should reach out and acknowledge that with her. And undoubtedly, I have had situations where I have reached out to somebody before I went to bed, because I did this prayer, and I reached out and I was like, hey, I don't know, sorry to bother you, but I don't know if what I said this morning came across the way that I intended, and I just want to apologize if I sounded hurtful. This is what I meant. And I had somebody, this actually happened, and I had pinpointed exactly what I made that person feel like, and I didn't mean to. So I never would have even thought about it if I didn't practice this nightly prayer, and I wouldn't have been able to mend that. Not only did I make them feel better, but I probably strengthened our relationship. They probably started thinking, she's a little more thoughtful than I originally thought. So it's been helpful for me. I don't find myself having to reach out to people a lot, but I have. I have probably 3 times, I think, total. Really acknowledged, like, I don't know that went as I expected. 3 times I would say that I reached out to somebody that evening. Like it was that important in my book that I needed to actually reach out and make sure that everything was okay. So what I try to do is, wipe off my lenses so I can see my interactions throughout the day with more clarity, to see whom I may have wronged, and then lean into that discomfort and get the courage to extend a kind word. And if I have to apologize, then so be it. And an apology can be a very gentle gesture. It doesn't have to be a big deal. And it's so much easier if I do it the same day than if I sit on it. If I sit on it, that story that I'm telling myself gets scarier, more unreasonable. I start writing some sort of story that gets darker and darker, and that's just what happens if I don't act on things right away. And I've learned that about myself. So I have found that it's just easy to take care of things on a daily basis. That's been working for me and keeps me feeling. I think that's where that serenity is allowed to come out. When I'm taking care of things, I don't hold on to anything. So the serenity can just surface. There's nothing holding it back. So the next line is, help me to be kind and loving to all people. So in this world that has so many sharp edges, being kind and loving to each other is huge. And I set this intention daily, hoping to strengthen that neuro pathway. I talked about that recently, that positivity. I try to, there's a guy in my morning meeting who really inspires me. If he runs across somebody in the world, he will just like extend a greeting to them. And like, he saw recently a guy on a e-bike. And so he just said, "Hey, how's that e-bike? Do you like it?" And they ended up having like a really long conversation. And then there was some serendipitous stuff. Is it serendipity? Synchronicity. No, synchronicity. What's that as a verb, as an adjective? Synchronic? I have no idea. Okay. But anyway, that stuff happens for him. And the reason why it happens is because he reaches out beyond himself, and engages with the world around him. That's how it happens. And it's funny because it makes me think, like, how many times am I around somebody that if I actually engaged with them, I would find out that they are like, best friends with, I don't know, somebody that my neighbor growing up or something, but you don't know unless you engage with people around you. So I feel like reading this nightly prayer and reading this line helped me to be kind and loving to all people. Reading it every freaking night for years has helped me to be more aware of being saying things that are almost unnaturally kind. They almost don't even feel natural for me to say them. Just be a little more kind than I normally would. And it really makes a difference. It absolutely makes a difference. It made a difference for me at work when I started making a conscious effort to speak more kindly than I normally would. People were so receptive to that, and it made me want to keep doing it. It was kind of cool. And the next line, use me in the mainstream of life, God. This is an interesting one to me because this line has transformed for me the most when I stopped working. Before, when I was working, I was hoping to be used in the mainstream of life through like my leadership role at work and being, having a team that I could mentor and that kind of thing, and my participation in AA. Now that I don't have my full-time job or any job, now I'm being used, I feel like, in a way that I never would have predicted, but yet I like it. And that is to be, it's doing this podcast as a great example. It's being a part of the ebb and flow of people in recovery, people's recovery journeys, being of service in unusual ways that maybe I never knew I was actually being of service. I was doing it, I was seeking help, and yet by doing that, I joined a community where that I'm actually helping others as well by sharing my story. I'm doing what I learned in sobriety, which was suiting up and showing up, even if I don't feel like it, and giving up control and, jumping on a wave with everybody else and reaching on my hand to pull anybody up if they get washed over. That's my thought process with this use me in the mainstream of life. I envision myself stepping into an already moving crowd and engaging, like being ready to be of service where I notice that somebody needs me or needs somebody, and connecting with people actively, like the guy I was talking about who just starts talking to people that he notices instead of having to trip over somebody to just even say one word like, oh, sorry, to somebody. Being present, being available, and being open to where life needs me the most. Being aware, observant, being observant and present. The next line is, and the last line, right? Yep, the last line. Remove worry, remorse, or morbid reflections that I may be of usefulness to others. And this is the release. This is the letting go of what weighs us down. And here is where I practice letting go. This is where I pull out the God box. If I need a little extra help letting go, if I need to physically represent the act of letting something go. I've been known to late at night when I'm doing my little 10-step nightly prayer thing, going over, getting my God box out and turning on a little light, writing down whatever I needed to on my little piece of paper and sticking it in my God box. I've done that before because I needed just a little more convincing that I was letting something go. And this is really for my own peace of mind. This is where I put those problems on my nightstand, which I've talked about before, and letting them sit there until morning instead of letting them rest on my pillow with me. So as I close tonight's episode, I invite you to join me on this nightly introspection. And I'll put them I'll put my nightly prayer in the description of the episode, and you can try it. If you don't like mine, you can rewrite it. If you don't want to have God involved, you can rewrite it and take him out. You can replace him with AA. You can replace him with whatever your higher power is. It's not a requirement. We'll just say that. So take the words and give yourself just 60 seconds of reflection on each, not 60 seconds on each line, but 60 seconds to review all of it and pause on different places where you feel like you need to pause and think, things that make you go, you don't have to write anything down, and it's almost like just taking 60 seconds of your life before bed and meditating on this. That's the idea. So for me, I lay down with a more peaceful mind, and I fall asleep much faster by doing this. So thank you for joining me today, and good luck if you want to try it. And if you do try it, please leave a message on the episode. I'd love to hear how it goes for you. You can always email me at rachel@recoverydailypodcast.com. Or you can go to my website and fill out a form, and that'll go to my email address too. Find me on social media. And that's it. That's all I got for today. So thanks, and I will talk to you tomorrow.